Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Sky Empire. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Sky Empire by Greymarsh Games. Now, this is an upcoming GameFound campaign, so you can check out the link down below. They are launching imminently, so you can see everything that they have planned, and this is a sponsored video. This is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change. These are not the final miniatures. This is a prototype version, so just keep that in mind, but you can check out the link down below to see everything that they have planned and what the final version will look like, because Sky Empire is going to be a lot of games. So there are a lot of games that I cover on this channel that I talk about how the actions are simple, but there's a lot of decision space, or there's not too much to understand with explaining it. But with this game, it is a whole lot of game. It's meant for an hour and a half per player, running you at 2 to 4 players, so that is just a lot of time to be spending in this beautiful world. Now, you're playing as these two twin Dopplers. They actually share the same name because they're within the same mind, but it just means that you have two figures for your Doppler, which is going to be shown on this board over here, and you are living within this beautiful planet, Dopheus, that it used to have these shields that protect it, and the shields have been sabotaged. So there are sentinels coming to destroy the world, and because of that, all of us Dopplers have chosen to try to fight to be the first to fix the shield, because whoever can put up the shield is going to now rule the planet. And on top of that, you're fixing the shield and saving everyone, which I'm sure is the most important and the reason you're doing it. But this is going to be a game where you don't have too much at the beginning, and as you build through, you don't have too much until you make it for yourself. This is going to be a game where you really have to build everything for yourself from the bottom, and even if you want to build out different airships, you have to find the blueprints to do so first. You need to find all different ways to be doing the different things that you're trying to do, but you do have a lot of time to spend doing it because you're going to have a lot of different rounds played throughout the game. Now, players are going to be developing out on this board here, where this island map does vary both depending on the number of players, and once you're a little bit more experienced with the game, you can set out the tiles in different configurations based on a few rules, but this will change depending on the number of players. As you can see, we have an orange, purple, and green players, so you have their 3 home bases represented, but I do only have one player board here in front of us to show off our Doppler Daphne. Now, play is going to go through these different event cards, and that's going to kind of steer the rounds, but the real heart of the rounds is going to be when you get to the action phase. So I'm going to go over the pace of play soon, but just to know that this is going to be the general world that everyone is working within. And on top of that, players also have the council board over here, which is outside of the area of play where you're going to be placing your miniatures, your buildings, your ships, and things like that. But you're also going to have an option over here on the council board to be taking actions with your Doppler miniatures. Now, your Dopplers are also able to be placed on the board, and this is going to happen round over round, where you are going to be replacing your Dopplers out. So it's going to be a constant balance of what actions you may want to take over here on the council board, mixed with where you may want to be on the board, because that can be very powerful for you as well. So you need to reactivate the shield, but how do you do so? There are these beautiful crystals that players are going to be collecting, and once you collect all 4, you are able to be on a spot with a monolith, reactivate the shield, and win the game. So that is what you're going to be trying to do, but these crystals are pretty hard to get. So you're going to be doing these different tasks trying to gain the crystals, and there actually is one here in the center of the board. So the first player to get to this area is going to be able to get one, and players that aren't able to do so are going to have to take specific missions to be able to get those crystals. And you can see here on your player board, you actually have specific slots for all of the different gems. So you can see that you can only get one of each. They all fit in very specific areas, but as I said, that's how you're gaining this one. You can gain the red one by destroying another player's base. Again, there are other ways to gain these gems. They're all very specific per gem, but I'm just giving examples. This one is destroying someone's base, so you know I'll probably start off with a red gem. Now, the blue gems are very cool that you have to have 12 buildings out. This can be pretty difficult, but you can actually take over other players' buildings if your Doppler is in the combat, so that's one way you can do so. And then for the green one, that's actually going to be specific to the Doppler that you chose. So it is a game for 2 to 4 players, but there's a whole bunch of Dopplers that you're able to choose from, and you can see here the green crystal objective for Daphne is build a Leviathan or Behemoth class airship. So they would have to build a specific class airship, and then they would be able to gain their gem over here. Now, the heart of the game is going to be when players are taking actions, but the general pace of play of each round is that first there's going to be an event card. So there are event cards and they're also paced out for early, mid, and late games. So just to give you an example, we have here first it's going to affect the weather, and this one is great because nothing happens. This one actually mentions Daphne, where the weather on Dopheus is quiet and calm today. Not Daphne, Dopheus, which is the name of this planet that we're on with the different floating islands that you can see. Then there's also a council effect, so each player may immediately spend 20 candles to gain 1 development. Developments are going to be these tiles here, which players are able to go into 2 different rows of, and it's going to be things that augment your Doppler to just make them a whole lot stronger. This is a way that you're going to be building out throughout the game to get you closer and closer to gaining these different gems. And then also for the sentinels, you will resolve the top sentinel control card. So this is going to be how you're going to be controlling these sentinels, which is something separate from the player characters. Now, currently, the top sentinel control card is going to be Ruma here. So you're going to take this figure and it will spawn over here, and then it will move towards the closest portal. Now, this figure is actually moving toward a portal before it actually disappears, because players are going to want to try to kill this, because the loot upon killing is going to be 1 sentinel development, which is one that you're going to be able to place within your development areas, and Ruma's blueprint. Now, the blueprints are going to be how you're building ships throughout the game. That here you can see this is a blueprint where you can see the resources that are needed to be able to craft it, and 5 of those are going to be these exploration tokens that players are gaining for going to different areas. So you need those things to be able to build it, and then you're able to build out this airship. Now, next is going to be the committing Dopplers phase, which is when you put out your different Dopplers for the round. Now, you can put them in the map and you'll gain different bonuses depending on what you're doing over there, but they have to go somewhere that you control, or you can place your Dopplers over on the council board. So if you place them over here, I'm actually going to go over what these actions look like during the action round, but you can see that they're either placed on the top area, which is a primary area, or below in the secondary area. So this is when you would place your Dopplers, but you would not take those actions until you choose to activate that particular Doppler's action. Now, next is the action phase, and there are multiple types of actions that you can take, but players are primarily going to be taking council actions and tactical actions. Now, a tactical action is going to be when a player is using one of these tokens to maneuver around the board. Now, you can use it for multiple different things, such as just activating a specific tile that you're on, but this is also how you're going to be able to move your different airships to target areas. So, for example, if we did want to move straight forward, we would be able to place a token here and then pull up one of our airships. So we could move both if we wanted, but we will move one of our airships up. And then if there were any other players or sentinels on that area, that is when you would enter the combat phase. So I'll go over that in a moment, but that is when combat would happen. And then after that, you would be able to explore. So you can see there's an exploration token here. We would actually be able to gain that, and then we would draw an exploration card. Now, us being in this area here, we're going to draw for the mountains, and this is going to allow us to choose one of the top 2 things. And if we had chosen to take our Doppler into this area with us, which we would have had to have chosen before we explored, we would be able to do the bottom ability. So we would be able to either buy a resource for 10 candles each. Candles is the resource in this game. Think of candles as money, which you could be able to do up to 4 times. Or if you didn't have any money and you just wanted to gain one for free, that's something that you would be able to do as well. But if your Doppler was there, you would be able to return your token that you placed on the tile to your supply. So you'd be able to remove your token off of here, meaning that you're able to activate this area again, because you are only able to place these tokens out where you don't already have one. They will clear at the end of the round, so when a new round starts, you are able to activate that same area again. But also, when you spend them, they go back to your general supply. They do not go to the area where you were able to spend them from. So you don't have any yet. Well, you do have some, but you need to gain more as you are spending them, because these are your actions that you are taking out here for tactical actions on the map board. Now, these initiative tokens are going to be so important throughout the game. As you can see, I have a whole pile of them where you can gain quite a few, but it's going to be really, really important to pace out the rounds and having these initiative tokens to be able to take your tactical actions, because you start the game with 4 of them, but then after that you'll have to gain them to be able to take actions, meaning that you need to make sure that you are in a loop where you're able to gain more to be able to have future actions. Now after that, players are going to be able to activate buildings and construct them, because activating them is going to be great for you, such as the bazaar, where you're able to make transactions and make some money or buy different things, but you're also able to construct buildings such as mines that are going to help you gain resources. There are turrets that are going to help you attack, and there's also the Aether Forge, which is going to make you allow you to have a bigger fleet, so you can have more ships in one area at a time to help you fighting, but it's also going to help you repair your ships if you ever need to as well. So that's an example of the couple different types of buildings that are going to be in this game, where this is a big game. I'm not going to go over everything and what the different buildings do, but that gives you an idea of some of them are offensive, like the turrets, some of them are going to be helping you gain resources, and some of them are just going to be helping you keep your ships alive and spread out throughout the map. And after that, during a tactical turn, players are actually going to check for a victory condition. So this is actually how you win the game, is during a tactical turn. You'll use your turn and have all 4 of your crystals available, and if the spot you activated, if you own it, if you currently control it, and it contains a monolith, that is how players will actually win the game. So you can see that there are monoliths throughout the board that you need to be on, and as long as you're on that space, you have all of your crystals, that is how you will secure victory. Alright, and now to go over an example of what combat is going to look like, let's pretend that this ship was over here. So again, this player would have had to have worked over here, or we would have to be a bit closer together, so this is not realistic for how he just teleported over here. But let's say that the purple player has the gas whirler here to fight against these 2 people. So we do have a Daphne doppelganger, and we also have the piranha ship. Alright, and I think that the purple player would be moving in onto the orange player the way that this is set up. So we'll have the purple player be the attacking player. So they would have their gas whirler here, have their card, and then they would have their dice to roll. Now, these are the 3 different dice in the game, where the different ships will do damage depending on what they're able to do. So this one is able to roll a yellow die, so that's what we're going to grab for him. And you can see that it has 2 shields as well as 2 structure. Now, I'm going to go over that when they're taking damage, but first players are going to roll, and you can see that that is a 1 damage, whereas the player with the piranha, Daphne over here, will also roll their dice, and because they have their Doppler in the battle, they will also roll an additional yellow die for that. So they are actually doing a total of 3 damage. So players will be able to decide where the damage is placed and how it is assessed, but 3 damage over here to the gas whirler, we would assume they would take 2 damage to their shield first and then 1 damage to their structure. So their ship is still alive and functioning, and they will do a damage back to the shield over here on the piranha. It was not the best time for them to choose to attack, but where both ships are still alive and in contention, players would roll again. So for the gas whirler, here we have a surge as well as a damage, and then we will have the piranha roll, and they have a surge as well as 2 damage. Now the surges do happen first, so this one would require 2. If they did roll 2, they would be able to have 3 hits automatically done. So that would be really, really bad for the piranha, but luckily they did not get that. They only did 1. Whereas the piranha also does get to do an additional hit because their surge only requires 1. So they did roll the 1. They'll do the 1 damage over here, and then the gas whirler will actually be taken out. So it'll be removed from the board, returned to its owner, and it will actually be placed back onto its blueprint side. So it will need to be built again to be able to be used. And you can see here that it's either 2 resources, or you can also pay 25 candles, which again is the money to be able to spawn this again. Now, there may be some things that players gain throughout the game that give them actions that they can do, and that's something else that you're able to do. So that one would not cost you an initiative token to be able to do so, but you'll be able to activate actions if you have things that say so. I'm not going to get into it because, again, this game is really big, and I'm just going to say that there are other actions that you'll be able to take. But primarily, the other actions that you're going to be taking that don't cost you these initiative tokens are going to be the council actions. So on the council board, you're able to choose when you activate that Doppler before the end of the round, and you get all of the benefits that are shown. So as I said earlier, there is the primary side and the secondary side, and the rewards are just better for taking the primary action. So for example, this one here is gain 1 development, and then spend 25 candles to gain an additional development. The developments are going to be these over here, which, as I said, are upgrades that are going to make your Dopplers better and better. I'm not going to really go over those in depth because I think that's a part of the strategic depth of this game that can make it very, very cool, but also very, very thinky, that you'll be going into these different ones because you can only have 2 rows of developments, meaning that as soon as you choose to go into a second development, you can't go into the other 2. So for example, we have warfare, construction, versatile, and augmentation, and it's just going to be depending on your playstyle how you want to build out your different Dopplers. Now after that, we also have this action over here, which is going to be how you are gaining those initiative tokens. So these tokens, you're able to, in the primary spot, gain 3 for free, but then after that you can purchase up to 7 of them for 10 candles each. Now you start the game with 100 candles, you will be gaining them, you'll also be spending them, but you'll be able to buy your different initiative tokens for 10 each, meaning that they're very, very important, and every action is really going to matter. So make sure you are really paying attention to the actions that you're doing, and sometimes it may be important to pass and go over to the next round and save some of these for a future round, depending on what you might want to be doing. Now, another one of these, I'm just going to read one more as an example, but this other one is going to be how the first player token changes. So this is going to be the first player token, and the way it's going to change is going to be by taking the primary action on this spot, and then you'll be able to gain 2 action cards. Now, action cards are pretty cool. They're going to be cards that you're able to play as an action, as I noted, but I am just going to show you a few of them because it mentioned it. So here we have a crystal mission. Play as an action. You can either draw a crystal mission or you can gain $25. So that's a way for you to gain money to perhaps buy yourself some initiative tokens or gain one of these missions working toward a crystal. Another example is going to be Navigator. Play before resolving a tactical turn. Ignore the effects of the current event card's weather section for this turn. So the weather will affect how your airships are able to maneuver around the board because you're trying to fly around in the air with the weather happening. So that's a way for you to be able to ignore it. Another one is going to be this council card. Play when resolving a council card where your Doppler is the secondary section. You may resolve the effects of the primary section of that card. Do not gain the banner bonuses. Now, that's a great reason to ping back over here because there are these banner bonuses. And if you are the one in the primary spot, when you take that action, you are able to gain these bonuses, and if it's helpful for you, you can gain the bonus before taking the action. For example, if you're gaining candles before spending them, you are able to do so. And after all of that, after the Doppler actions are taken, after you've used your initiative tokens for tactical actions, after you've used any other actions that you want to, players are going to pass. Once you pass, you're out for the rest of the round, and then once all players have passed, you move on to the cleanup phase. Now, that means one round is finished, and you'll move on to the next event card and start an entire new round. Now, as I said, those initiative tokens are so hard because you need to be gaining them, but you will be able to place out your 2 Dopplers depending on where you want them to be. Now, this is going to be a game where it does start off very slow, but there's so much for you to build into and to decide, where you have your different buildings where some of them are more military based and helpful, some of them are going to be more meant toward resources and gaining things that you need to work toward, but there's also going to be these sentinels that you're fighting against, because not only are you keeping an eye out for the other players, but sentinels are showing up to also try to fight off against you. So they do get a bit scary and their ships get quite large that not only do you have to worry about what everyone else is doing and where you're moving around, but you have to keep an eye out for them. Now, one of the funnest parts of the game is going to be the exploration part, because you're moving around picking up these different exploration tokens, and you'll be able to use them to pay for things, depending on what you do. So there are going to be cards that are going to say spend a certain amount of exploration tokens to get something that you want, and you're going to want it. So players are also fighting for those and trying to explore these different areas, trying to gain what they can from this world to see if they're able to get more crystals before anyone else. Because if you're able to get all 4, if you're able to activate that spot with the monolith, you will become the ruler of the planet and the protector, and you saved the planet, but the ruler of the planet in Sky Empire. Now, this has just been a preview to show you a bit about the game, what it looks like, how it plays and feels, but if you'd like to see even more about the game, specifically more how to plays and things like that, there's actually a lot of resources over on the publisher's YouTube page. So I highly suggest checking that out. They're Greymarsh Games. You can also check out the game found link down below, but you can see a whole lot more about what they have planned for the game. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!